Hey, NNKH miscellaneous channel. Got a quick review video on this Magic Heat Chimney Heat Reclaimer I just scored on Marketplace for 125 bucks. Unbeatable deal because these retail for over $300. And they've been making these since the 70s, made in USA. I don't think they're changed at all since then. They are UL listed, and you can actually buy them on Amazon or many websites. I'll drop a link to them down below if you want to check them out. But this was an open box. Everything's in there, so I can't complain. I think it's going to work well. I see how much more heat output. They say you can gain 30% more heat because it's all going up the chimney. Of course, that's provided you're running hot fires. If you're running a cool fire, you don't really want to pull that heat from the chimney. I've always seen people call these creosote catchers, but I didn't realize it actually has a cleaner mechanism built in. So it's used for wood, coal, oil, or natural gas stoves. And there's some of the other features. Got the aluminized swags in there, swedges. And we got our power cord. And when I went to pick this up, I was surprised how actually big it was. I was like, man, this thing is bigger than I thought it'd be. It's got some weight to it for sure. Look at that perfect shape. Here's a glance at the 10 heat transfer tubes, and this is the cool part. You pull the rod to clean the creosote. You see, it's got that. It goes back and forth to clean off those aluminized steel tubes. Now, it would have been cool if they used stainless tubes, so you never have to worry about them rusting through it all. But what do I know? Maybe they would have deformed a lot easier. Boy, I might have to pull this stove up. It's pretty close to the wall. Yeah, that'll put it basically right onto the wall. However, it does have side and top louvers to pull air from instead of just the back. Of course, if you have a combustible wall, then it's going to be different than a block wall. It says on this tag to keep the knob always pulled out approximately 4 inches so you don't burn the plastic knob off of there. Here's a look at the fan in the back with aluminum blades on it. That is thermostatically controlled, so it comes on at set temperature, or you can manually turn it on as well. That's one thing about this. It has a fan with wires, so they recommend to not run the wood stove if you have a power outage. It has to always have power going to it. Otherwise, you could overheat the fan. And they recommend mounting it 12 to 24 inches up, but I was thinking maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea since I have so much overhead to go even higher. That way, in the event of a power outage, obviously still want to be able to run your wood stove without taking this off. The bottom flue pipe is a crimped male. You got aluminum placard, model MH-6R, serial number 2. And let me get this on here now, let you know how it works. I think I'm going to experiment with 4 feet up. Because again, with a power outage and also just longevity of the unit, keeping that fan up higher away from the hot stove maybe could work. Now, I burned a lot of junk wood through this, or have been the last 3-4 months. And I noticed I got quite a bit of creosote buildup on the edges here. So I hit it with the torch real quick, got it sparked up, and you can see it's still burning. It's working its way down, all the way down there. So probably a good idea to clean that off, but I'll get it at a later date. I can see why they call the Magic Heat a creosote catcher, because with the single cold wall on the outside, you just get a lot of creosote buildup, and with that square, you can't just run a brush down it. You're going to have to pop the thing off and scrub it and blow it out with something, but we'll give it a go still. Surprisingly, up in the elbow and where we exit the building now, not very much creosote at all. Look at the outside pipe, because that's insulated. I'll have to go check the chimney cap too. I think that's where you end up with most creosote buildup, is at the coldest part. And that is one of the issues with these. If you're lowering your stack temperature too much, then by the time the flue gases exit your chimney cap, and if they're below 200 degrees, then you're going to get a lot of condensation buildup and all that creosote buildup outside. So that would be one argument against these. Well, I've had a change of heart. We're going to mount this closer to the stove, because this being the top pipe, you guys saw how much creosote that had, quite a bit. And the lower you get to the stove, of course, there's going to be less. So at the top of this one, not too bad, much less than the pipe above it. And on the bottom, it is very clean since that stays so hot. So what's easier, popping these off, running the sweep through, or cleaning creosote out of this? Obviously the pipes, we're going to mount this closer to the stove. That way it gets less creosote. There's the final install. Just had to hack off a little bit from the top pipe. We are 14 inches above the stove. And the manual says 12 to 24. That makes sense that they're saying 24 is the max because of that creosote issue. You go up too high and this thing's just gonna be a creosote box. I opted to not put this back cover on for now so I can keep the switch, you know, onto the side. Let's see what this thing sounds like if we go manual operation. Oh, that's quiet. Good airflow coming off there too, wow. Oh, I'm excited for this. Even though we're just up against the wall pretty much, still tons of airflow coming off of that. Let's get this sparked up. We are ripping good. Go ahead and pull this knob out 4 inches. Get a little smoke off of here, oil's burning off. And there it is, the 2.5 minute mark. This has officially fired up. Of course, it's not always gonna be blowing smoke like that. That's just the oil's burning off. So, and wow, that's nice heat coming off of here. So that right off the rip is one of the big advantages of this. Of course, the stove takes a while to fully warm up. I mean, this is still ice cold on the top and all the way throughout. So if you need instant quick heat within 2.5 minutes, get your fire raging good. And now I'm gonna go ahead and close this. Of course, I had the chimney open fully. So let's see, even with a cold fire, if this is gonna stay on or not. Wow, that's putting out really nice BTU. I'm glad I didn't put this up higher. This is where it's at. Let's get our stovepipe thermometer right there. And one, I don't know, about a foot above it. So we can see what kind of temperatures those come up with. Of course, they're not the most accurate in the world, but 10 minutes later, we're running a nice hot fire with this chimney blocker closed and just above 600 degrees. Really great hot heat coming off of here, super toasty. You can see that's getting some discoloration to it. Thought it might have been stainless steel, but then I took the magnet to it and well, that sticks. So if it is stainless, it's not a high grade. And above it, we are at 325 looking about. So that's a 300 degree difference between, and we're still within the target there. Plenty of heat to get those flue gases out of the chimney without getting a ton of creosote buildup. Again, having that insulated pipe on the outside, I mean, that's such a big difference because even if your temperature drops below 250 or 200 at the top of there, once it's on the inside of that insulated pipe, it can keep its heat to get on out of there without condensation happening, hopefully anyway. I am thoroughly impressed with this so far. What a game changer. You can't even keep your hand. Oh, you got about 4 or 5 inches and you're gonna be burning yourself. So, but you can see, I mean, we're up to 700. I like to run them pretty hot though. At this point, I will damp this down some. Of course, this is a multi-fuel coal stove, so we're pulling air from the bottom, not as efficient as a wood-only stove where you're feeding more from the top. And I think this just is the perfect addition for running a hot wood stove. If you're running cool temperatures, you have something super efficient, maybe not great for that because then you're going to be lowering that stack temperature too much. But if you got a 700 degree stack, yeah, you want a magic heat for sure. So let's see if this thing can hold up to those temps. Again, as long as that fan's going, yeah, the back is staying cool. I can hold my hand on there, feel all the air coming in here. But if you're to lose power for an extended period of time, be running this, then probably a good idea to pop this off and just have a section of pipe kicking around to bypass it. Now, making your own heat exchanger like this, great idea too, but one item that all the pictures I was looking at online of people doing them, I've never seen anybody add the scraper, the soot scraper in there. Because of course, to keep those tubes efficient, you don't want them getting insulated in a blanket of creosote or ash. So how's that? Ooh, that is hot. Can't even grab it. Yeah, I think that is a great feature. I think I might even just leave that all the way out, so that way if I want to clean it in operation. Yeah, because that's toasty. Whew. Now, even with this fire turned down a little bit, still running at over 750 degrees, which, yeah, this says too hot, but I say if your pipes ain't glowing red and you're not near combustibles, 750 is just fine. Glowing red is too hot, right? And we're at 350 here. So we're dropping 400 degrees from this. And I'm kind of really putting it through its paces, too. I want to make sure this thing can take some serious heat. Get everything burned off of it too. A couple hours later, got this thing running on some good old-fashioned anthracite coal. Nice bed of coals down there, and boy, it just puts out even more BTU. You can see above the Magic Heat, we are at 425, so can't beat coal if you live in an area where it's available. I mean, it's good stuff. Nice and clean coming out of the chimney too, no smoke. Well, that didn't last too long. I just came in here and it smells like burning plastic, and the Magic Heat is not working anymore. So it's broken. I just checked that extension cord for power. It is indeed powered up, and this thing is scorching hot. I mean, these wires, and you see we're not over firing, but I think it might have been my fault because I put that coal in there and I had the wood on top too, and it was, you know, it was pushing some major heat, but not pegging any gauges. I think it kind of probably had to do with the fact that I had this so close to the wall, and yeah, I was running coal and wood and really going to town with it. So I'm gonna unplug this and then we'll take a look, see what happened. Let's try turning this manual override on. Oh my gosh, this wall is scorching hot, and this switch is burning hot too. Plug it in now. Look at that, back on. All right, so the motor's still good, surprisingly. And I guess the only thing that went bad is the little thermostatic sensor to turn this on. So that's a good test for that motor, because this was actually off for quite some time before I decided to try flicking that switch. And well, you see it's still working fine. So, all right, look into that once this cools down tomorrow. Next morning, this is ice cold, and here's how it looks inside after the initial burn. Give it a little slide. You can see on the back side, oil has been dripping from something right about here, presumably the motor shaft. And with 10 screws off, we can remove this cover. Take a look. So they say if you're running this with no power, to just pop this back fan off, and then, you know, as long as you're not glowing these tubes red, then you'll be okay. This is the piece that overheated. So with the fan switch off, that works fine now manually. I just looked these up online. You can get one for 11 bucks, up to like 50 bucks depending. And this one is on at 120, off at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Now I'd like to see, put one in there that maybe comes on at like 200, 250, because really you don't want this fan running if you have a cool fire, because then, yeah, it's going to add to more creosote. But I think that the reason they had this at 120 is to just protect that fan motor, because you're going to get all sorts of radiant heat come through this aluminum and steel shaft and just causing havoc on that motor. But clearly it can take some heat, because I was running this hot yesterday without any fan at all. I just took this little thermal switch apart, and you can see it actually does still operate. I'm holding it in right now, so it's off, but when you release the micro switch, fan comes on, and you see it's got this little guy in there and a little flex disc, B1 Flex, which right now it actually is flexed out, so it should have been operating. Oh, I get a new one on order, Amazon, $9 for a magnetic. And then I can kind of put it wherever I'd like to. I space this off the wall a little bit. We'll go with what's that, about 3-4 inches, 4 fingers there. Get a little more airflow back there. And of course the ability to pop that back cover off if need be. And here's what I ended up with. I got one of these magnetic switches from Amazon. That way you can stick it on there and place it wherever you like. I find on the back is perfect. Turns on at 130 now, and I got 4 fingers behind, get a little more airflow there. And that's a good location, because now when this gets down into the creosote level, we're not burning hot, it will turn off and not just keep going, unlike its location inside before. It would really keep going until there was no heat at all in that chimney, and that's not what you want, in my opinion. I know you want to keep the fan cool from overheating, but if it's a cool fire, I don't see a reason to keep it on. And I got this plate leaning here too. That's a major upgrade, so it prevents all that heat from rising up and back and getting that fan super hot. I mean, you could come up with something much better than that, but it does the job. So things working like a charm. So we're now into April, moving clean out of the heating season, and I want to wrap this up by giving a giant thumbs up on this Magic Heat. It's performed flawlessly. If you're going to build your own, I definitely recommend adding this feature to it to clean out, as I was talking about earlier. But for the price I got this, I'm not complaining. And I also think, like, I've seen some guys take a 55-gallon drum or an old heating oil tank and use those as a heat exchanger. But for an application like this, that would just pull way too much heat out of the chimney. I mean, for a 6-inch chimney, this is the most heat you want to pull out. The rest of that, because if you drop below, I guess, 225 or so before it gets to the top, all that moisture is going to condense and just, it's going to get nasty up there real quick. So you need that heat in the chimney. Hopefully you learned something out of the video. This is my finalized version for 2026 and 2025, 2026, and next year maybe do something different. Maybe get a bigger stove. That's what I'm thinking. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and see you in another video, hopefully real soon. Oh, who is it? What's up, Mr. Turbo? Huh? What are you doing? Let's get you out of here. It's chilly today. Come on. Get in there. Working on getting this house done too, and doing drywall next week. So.
You need some syrup?
Good job.